Now, people from around the world are quickly discovering Bolivia for its geographical wonders, but there seems to be a growing number of people that are choosing to do more than play tourist and are choosing to stay for good. Hello everyone, this is Ronan Blue, and today's topic is on the 8 best reasons to retire to Bolivia. Just as a disclaimer, the information provided is a general guide and to be used for educational purposes only. Now, Bolivia is one of only 2 landlocked nations in South America, but despite its lack of coast, the country has a wealth of riches in terms of geography, history, culture, and natural resources. To newcomers, it's attractive on many fronts thanks to the warmth of its people, the perfectly moderate climate in the highlands, the low-cost living, modern conveniences, and a rich and vibrant indigenous culture. In Bolivia, people don't wait 40 years to live the lifestyle they want to live. They live a simpler life with fewer possessions and no regrets. They focus primarily on family and relationships rather than work, status, and material possessions. But let's get into the 8 points right away. Number 1, culture in Bolivia. Now, this landlocked country in the heart of South America was named after Simon Bolivar, a leader in the 19th century wars for independence against Spain back around 1825. It's also the 5th largest country in South America and is one of the most biological, cultural, and geographically diverse places on the planet. It has the high Andean peaks, lowland Amazon jungle, and everything in between. There's even 37 languages spoken, although the majority do speak Spanish being the official language. It's bordered by Brazil to the north and east, Paraguay and Argentina to the south, Chile and Peru to the west, and the population of Bolivia is about a little over 11 million. Bolivia is also around 95% Catholic. They have a large indigenous population, about 41% to 50% of the Bolivian population, or 2.8 million people. There are places where every village you pass through has its own unique dresses, songs, dances, and dialects. They are estimated to have the largest population of indigenous people in South America. Caucasians make up 15% of the population, mainly living in the big cities. Afro-Bolivians make up a small part of the population, along with the Bolivians of Asian origin. The national cultural tradition that existed before the Spanish conquest of the 16th century was the Andean tradition that extends from southern Colombia to northern Chile and Argentina and roughly corresponds to the boundaries of the Inca Empire. The highland regions were actually absorbed into the Inca Empire less than 100 years before the Spanish conquest in 1532. Pagan rites from the pre-Columbian era are still common during the religious festivals of the natives. But for most Bolivians, especially rural Bolivians, life hasn't changed much in many generations. It's a simple way of life. The wars of independence in 1825 were led by Spanish-speaking Creoles who had a highly exclusive social order. But only after the 1952 populist revolution did most Bolivians begin to enjoy the rights and privileges of citizenship. Many people say that the 1952 populist revolution as being the key events that created a sense of nationhood in Bolivia. Now, where the capital city of Bolivia would be is a bit tricky. There are 3 branches of government that are divided between 2 cities, Sucre and La Paz. Sucre is a judicial branch, and La Paz is for the executive and legislative branches. Since La Paz has more politics and authority on its plate, it's the capital of Bolivia, I guess. Or is it Sucre? You decide. There's a heated debate. Today, their traditional culture is mostly influenced by Indian, Spanish, and Portuguese cultures, although most of Bolivia has been globalized and now wears the typical fashion of jeans and a t-shirt. But there are still Bolivians in the rural areas that like it old style. You'll be seeing a lot of color and accessories worn, but they're all very functional. The indigenous culture is alive and well in Bolivia, a country where the vast majority of inhabitants are of native descent. Even the traditional bolo hats and puffy dresses of indigenous Cholita women can be admired at every turn. Bolivians are also known to be socially conservative and focused on family, and one household usually includes the extended family with grandparents, aunts, uncles, and children. Even getting married is a commonplace expectation for all Bolivians. They are, however, today at a critical stage of their urbanization process, and compared to other countries in Latin America, the urbanization process started relatively late in Bolivia. Today, nearly 2/3 of Bolivians live in urban areas, and the United Nations estimates that by 2025, nearly 75% will be urban. Number 2, where to live in Bolivia. Sucre. Now, this medium-sized city of about 300,000 people was founded in the 16th century and offers many reasons to visit or live here full-time. The surroundings are beautiful and it's a UNESCO World Heritage Site full of centuries-old architecture. You'll see restored churches, well-kept parks and plazas, grand municipal buildings, and private homes, some repurposed into shops, restaurants, cafes, and more. It's full of white stone architecture and the National Library. It's pretty modern as well, with high-speed internet and cell phone coverage as well. Now, it does have a share of tourists, but it's usually just a quick jump-off point for tours to the salt flats and for trekking into the highlands. So it does have an international feel, and because of this atmosphere, you'll find Italian, German food, sushi, and more among local eateries. There's also a focus on arts and culture with several museums celebrating the town's heritage, local artists, religious traditions, even its history as a center of precious metals mining, which continues to this day. There are regular concerts of jazz, classical, and more, and the indigenous people of Inca descent who speak Quechua are very much part of the town's rich and diverse tapestry. Now, Sucre has a small but growing group of expats, so when living here, you'll find that things aren't as set up as other popular destinations in Latin America. La Paz. This city may not be the biggest, but it's definitely one of the most popular cities. La Paz houses 2 of Bolivia's branches of government. It's also the hottest tourist spot. The cableway is for sightseers and tourists to look over the maroon and colorfully roofed urban city. It goes around the city and is actually used as a means of transportation by the locals. Many people are drawn to La Paz for its undeniable beauty of its surrounding mountains. The city has plenty of treks through isolated highland wilderness that are usually done over the weekends. The indigenous culture also thrives, where you can expect to interact with traditionally dressed cholitas on a daily basis. You'll see youthful and temporary expats as well as backpackers that brings a nightlife and a thriving tourism sector. But the altitude seems to be a major drawback for older expats that may suffer ongoing health issues. The city is also pretty cold throughout the year and never really has a proper summer. Traffic and constant protests are there as well, making it difficult to move around the city at times. Santa Cruz. Here you'll find people day and night. There are great restaurants around every turn, and there's a number of bars and clubs within walking distance, being a walkable town. It's in the geographical heart of Bolivia, right in the middle. The people who reside in the city and the state are distinctively different from the people that inhabit the Western Highlands. They seem much more European, and you see tall, pale-skinned locals. They are known to be friendly, extroverted, and also proud of their heritage. Most of their economy is based on their agriculture, oil, and natural gas industries. It's not like a European city, but it seems to be a city that is better off than other Bolivian cities, but of course, with this comes with a price. There are colonial buildings, old monuments, leafy green plazas, colonial churches, and captivating galleries and museums are here as well, just not as well known. It also has a cosmopolitan vibe as well, with no shortage of trendy restaurants and cafes to choose from. There are many properties here that are within gated communities as well. Many actually end up loving Santa Cruz. The climate is more agreeable than La Paz, although it does get hot and the traffic isn't all that bad. You've also got the great dining and entertainment scene, world-class international schools, and stacks of multinational corporations who offer high-paying jobs. It's actually Bolivia's economic powerhouse, meaning better job prospects with international companies who pay higher salaries. It's also more modern and westernized, with a growing number of American franchises popping up throughout the city to provide home comforts. But air conditioning is an absolute must. The tourism industry is underdeveloped, so very few tourists. It's not as visually remarkable compared to other Bolivian cities, and some tourists actually say it's dull and boring, and violent crime is actually higher than elsewhere in the country, and residents also complain about inadequate waste management. Number 3. Food in Bolivia. Pique macho. Now this would be one of Bolivia's typical dishes. You'll have a huge plate filled with beef, sausage, boiled eggs, French fries or potatoes, onions, and red and green peppers. Ingredients vary from one city to the next and also one restaurant to the other, but you won't be hungry after ordering this dish. Most portions are large enough to feed at least 2 people. Sopa de mani. This is another typical dish from Bolivia. Interesting enough, scientists believe that peanuts originated in Bolivia 7,600 years ago, where many pre-Columbian cultures depicted peanuts in their art, eventually becoming popular all over the world. But this dish is made with them. It's made from potatoes and ground peanuts, which gives it a milky appearance and creamy texture. Besides potatoes, you can find beef and vegetables like carrots and celery in it as well. Oh, and the pasta. Number 4. Things to do in Bolivia. Uyuni Salt Flats. This one is super popular and probably the biggest attraction in Bolivia. There's 10 billion tons of salt that form this distinctive dry plain, but just don't add it to your fish and chips. It's an endless landscape of salt left behind by a dried up prehistoric lake that stretches as far as the eye can see, 11,000 square kilometers of it. It may still be the largest salt flat anywhere in the world. It stands near the border of Chile and leads on into the national park. It's a vast plain of salt stretching for miles and miles in every direction. And if you're lucky enough in the rainy season and you come when a few centimeters of water lies on the top, you'll be seeing the world's largest mirror that's 80 miles across. Also, the remote location in the desert with no pollution makes excellent stargazing as well. You'll see the Milky Way at night, stretched out, combined with the mirror effect that has some incredible shots nowhere else seen on Earth. Valley of the Moon. This actually is not a valley at all, but here you'll find remains of clay and sandstone mountain battered over time by strong winds and rains, and if you're into watching landscapes, this would be one of the things you need to do. It's actually a bunch of rocks and strange formations which look like the surface of the moon, looking like mazes of canyons and stalagmites, and is really quite unique and bizarre. It also makes a great Instagram spot for gorgeous photos and some peacefulness. You can even be adventurous and rent a bike, but there are lots of dusty, hilly, and complete gravel tracks that make it quite challenging. Explore Lake Titicaca. This is the world's largest high-altitude lake and the largest lake in South America, and is also the birthplace of the Inca civilization, surrounded by traditional villages and ancient ruins. It's on the border between Bolivia and Peru, rich in ancient Inca settlements and underwater ruins, and it's home to over 530 aquatic species. You can immerse yourself in the quiet island life. Bike across North Jungas Road. This one might not be for everyone, but this road is called the Death Road and is world famous for being one of Earth's most dangerous routes. In the 1980s, it reported an average of 200 to 300 deaths per year. Drunk drivers, narrow roads, crazy hairpin turns, and forces of nature were some of the reasons that resulted in the road being called Death Road. Today, it's mostly used by cycling tour groups as a safer road has since been built, but you might actually see a car or truck using it to try and get somewhere remote. But most do it by mountain bike. But there are additional safety measures in the form of barriers, cycling guides, and safety equipment added in recent years to further increase the chances of survival. Number 5. Cost of living in Bolivia. Depending on the quality of life you are looking for, the cost of living varies drastically. To live like an average Bolivian, it is very, very cheap. Some actually say there isn't a massive difference in the quality of daily life between the average American and the average Bolivian, although there is that difference of the US per capita being about 10 times that of Bolivia's. But it could be said that most Americans just use all this extra income to fill up their houses with extra stuff called junk. If you're looking for a country that gives you a big bang for your buck, this country is tough to beat. The country offers a variety of lifestyle options for a fraction of North American costs. Even one-way airline tickets between cities can be for as little as $35. And because Bolivia has its own wine country, bottles of locally produced wine starts at less than $3. The taxi rides are available starting at 75 cents, and a family-sized platter heaped with various grilled meats plus salad bar access is just $12. You can live on the edge of the city of Sucre with its grand colonial-era structures, century-old churches and plazas, and pay less than $350 per month with internet and a weekly maid service included. A couple could live in Sucre on $1,100 a month, and a single person could live on $650 to $850 USD. And that low-cost lifestyle is not about depriving yourself either. Expats report that basic utilities tend to run around $35 per month, thanks in part to the mild weather that requires little heating or no air conditioning, and the government subsidies on liquid petroleum. A meal at an inexpensive restaurant would be $2.91 between $1.45 and $6 USD. A meal for two people at a mid-range restaurant for a three-course meal would be $20 between $11 and $43 USD. Basic utilities for an apartment would be $36 between $19 and $72 USD per month. The internet would be $30 between $34 and $50 USD per month. An apartment, one bedroom in city center would be $352 between $250 and $508 USD per month. An apartment, one bedroom outside a city center would be $246 between $174 and $407 USD per month. An apartment, three bedrooms in city center would be $588 between $436 and $800 USD per month. An apartment, three bedrooms outside a city center would be $506 between $319 and $730 USD per month. But there are also a few modern supermarkets which do offer some imported items from the US and Europe, but you'll be paying US prices or higher for anything from out of the country. Number 6, buy property in Bolivia. Bolivia is one of the countries where foreign citizens can buy property at affordable prices for investment or for stay. Buying property as a foreign citizen is not as complicated as it was 10 years ago. The real estate market in Bolivia has grown tremendously and continues to expand. It's actually experiencing a construction boom stimulated by the country's robust economic growth, coupled with the government efforts to boost housing supply. Some say residential properties are much cheaper than most other nations of South America. 1 to 2 bedroom houses and condos are priced below $60,000 USD, and larger houses with several bedrooms located in the city are sold below $120,000 USD. One thing many find with real estate in Bolivia, whether renting or buying, is that there are limited listings through real estate agents, and they say the best way to find property is to network in person by even walking through neighborhoods you're interested in and looking through Spanish language online classifieds and Facebook. An inefficient and effective way is to get in a car or taxi and hire by the hour and go directly to a neighborhood you know you'd like to live in. You'll be able to drive slowly up and down, back and forth on each street until you've covered the whole area. Many homeowners actually know that people do their house hunting like this, and they don't bother paying to put an ad in the paper. Instead, they simply clip up a sign on the front gate. But times are changing, so maybe the growth over the internet for these ads will become more popular. Number 7, healthcare in Bolivia. One of the drawbacks to living in Bolivia is that medical care is relatively basic. There are hospitals and clinics, even specialists, but local expats say while there is good care, most will head to a larger city to take care of more complex health issues. In 2019, Bolivia rolled out its universal healthcare to cover the 5.8 million uninsured citizens. The new and free unified health system covers at least 70% of the Bolivian population who lack any form of insurance. But for expats, you should always get international private health insurance that not only takes care of the medical costs, but also covers air evacuation in case of a medical emergency. But the majority of citizens, along with expats and foreign visitors, prefer to visit private medical facilities and centers that belong to the major cities. They offer better quality of care and sanitation and responds quicker at times of emergency. But for the treatment of major illnesses and surgeries, it should be done out of Bolivia. And there are capable doctors in Bolivia, especially in the larger cities, including specialist doctors, but through the private healthcare system. The costs are low, including $15 to $30 per doctor's visit, and a bit more for a specialist. Medications are widely available and cheap, about 30% of US prices. Number 8. How to live in Bolivia. Now, there are visa categories for people doing volunteer work or serving as missionaries, as well as those working in Bolivia, but there is no formal retiree visa, as you'll find in many Latin American countries that are expat hotspots. US citizens could enter Bolivia for tourism. Entry is granted for 30, 60, or 90 days, dependent on the Bolivian immigration officer. But it's always best to visit the Embassy of Bolivia's website for the most current visa information. But if still interested in settling in the country for longer, you'll have to apply to what's known as the Visa de Objeto Determinado, or Specific Purpose Visa. You apply at a consulate in your home country by filling out the online form and providing a criminal history, medical check, and proof of assets with bank account statements to show you can support yourself. And once you get approval, you have to enter Bolivia within 30 days and finish the process at the local immigration office. The term for this temporary resident visa is for 1 or 2 years and it's renewable. But after 2 years in the country, you can apply for permanent residency. But of course, for more information, go directly to the Bolivia government website. So this is the bonus section for those who have reached all the way here. Pros and cons of living in Bolivia, starting with the pros. The dangers are exaggerated. There's an unjust reputation in the Western world, considered by many to be a lawless no man's land where murder and kidnapping are the norm. In reality, it's among the safest countries on the continent. Parties are important. Fiestas are loved even to the point where you're sometimes not able to stand or speak from dancing and drinking. There are numerous alcohol-fueled festivals taking place all through the year. Food is a source of pride. Bolivians adore their national cuisine, and a lot of it is surprisingly very good. Each region of Bolivia has its own cuisine. In higher and colder areas, people put a lot of spices in their dishes. People in low-lying areas usually feast on yuca, vegetables, and seafood, rich in natural resources. Now, this may be a poor country in terms of per capita income, but it's immensely rich in natural resources and landscapes. Natural gas accounting for 50% of the economy's total exports. Its main industries are mining, smelting, and petroleum. Bolivia is a colorful destination. It's actually home to dozens of indigenous groups that speak more than 30 languages. It's a melting pot of cultures and traditions. Bolivians love to learn from other cultures. Political issues or criticisms towards religious groups should be avoided. But other than this, they love chatting, especially about their beloved soccer. You can practice your Spanish. Safety and secure in Bolivia. Now, this country has one of the lowest crime rates in South America, and most major cities have a medium threat level for crime comparable to larger cities in the United States of America. Santa Cruz is probably the only city that has a high threat level of crime. Most crime affecting expats would be street crime, such as pickpocketing and purse snatching. Violent crimes such as assault and robbery against foreigners are very rare, and there are special tourist police for tourists in Bolivia. The nationwide number for the police is 110. Cafes. Now, there are skilled barista coffee drinks that rival any in the United States for just $1, and there are so many of them. Visually rich, a photographer's dream. The landscape varies dramatically across the nation, so if you like taking pictures, there's lots to explore. You can take those long treks for some to fill up your SD card. Mountain climbing and hiking. Now, Bolivia is littered with mountains. It has dormant volcanoes, deserts, and rainforests. It's a perfect place for all you thrill seekers who love to exercise while taking in the views. Not a rushed life, and moves at a charmingly relaxed pace. Lovers of all things urban. There are trendy stores and luxury-style condo buildings, all the amenities you could want, even Korean restaurants to sprawling grocery stores, and multiplex cinemas are available, pedestrian friendly. Most places are perfectly walkable, and if you need to travel long distance, public transportation is cheap. In small cities, a taxi can take you from one end of the small city to the other for less than $2. Now let's talk about the cons. Things never happen on time. Nothing ever happens when it's supposed to in Bolivia. Even more than anywhere else in Latin America, business deadlines and social meetups are open to interpretation. Protect yourself from diseases. Now, foreigners are strongly advised to get vaccinated against infectious diseases as the degree of risk is regarded as very high in Bolivia. All visitors are required to secure an international vaccination certificate for yellow fever. For additional protection, you should have vaccines for hepatitis A, dengue fever, and malaria. There are no road rules. Although there may be an old book of traffic rules somewhere, no one really follows them. You may see cars that speed through red lights on the wrong side of the road without a seatbelt. Maybe exaggerated or maybe not. Locals, especially in rural provinces, may show their curiosity over foreigners, but sometimes asking too many questions. This could be a pro or con. No McDonald's. In 2013, McDonald's, one of the world's largest fast food chains, closed its last stores in Bolivia. Fast and processed food is not aligned with the country's large indigenous population. They believe a good meal as one that has been prepared with love, dedication, certain hygiene standards, and proper cooking time. Patience is virtue. There are lineups everywhere for endless menial tasks the rest of the world could do online. And after being in these endless queuings, it's completely normal to be ordered to come back another day. Protests are a way of life. Protests of political discourse in Bolivia is normal, with roadblocks and dynamite as tactful negotiation. Many of the expats know that their travel plans depend entirely on the political climate at the time, and that citywide blockades are a great excuse to take that day off. This could be a con or pro as well. Expat community is small. You will be somewhat of a pioneer, but there is still a growing population of foreign retirees. And because there isn't a ton of tourism, you won't find many who speak English. You'll have to start learning Spanish to get around comfortably. Learning Spanish is a must. You learn to communicate quickly and more if you push yourself out into the community. Reading in Spanish helps build your vocabulary as well. Bolivia is one of the most impoverished countries in South America, but the numbers show vast improvement over the last decade. Adjusting to society, there are cultural and societal differences that seem to struggle. The cities are overcrowded, dirty, and there are levels of corruption. Far from friends and family, it's definitely most difficult missing out on time with your family back in the States. Also spending the holidays away and missing the arrival of new family members and the departing of others as well. Political unrest. South America has had its fair share of dictators, and Bolivia is certainly no exception. Throughout its turbulent history, the country has seen revolutions, uprisings, riots, and a revolving door of presidencies. But overall, although it does have issues, which country doesn't, even from the country you're watching this vlog from? Now, life is not any different in Bolivia, and you'll be different, become more tolerant, and more interested in uniqueness and experiences. But although you'll feel like an outsider, you'll feel included as well. The value of a person here and how people treat you has nothing to do with the clothes or fancy shoes you have on. But Bolivia is not for everyone. Without a large established expat community, as in some other Latin American countries, you'll have to speak more Spanish and be more immersed in the local culture. For many people, that's ideal. For others, a deal breaker. But it does have its cultural heritage, vibrant art, literature, food and music, and its beautiful and green landscapes. It all depends on your perspective and whether you feel welcomed or not. Well, tell me what you think of Bolivia in the comment section below. If you like this vlog, please don't forget to give me a like, subscribe if you haven't already, and hit that notification bell for more of my coming content here. Thank you for watching my vlog. Be free, gain wealth, and travel far.